Mark Milich, a young man in his early 20s, was starting to notice something alarming. His hair was thinning. It was a subtle change at first, almost imperceptible to anyone but himself. He would stand in front of the mirror, scrutinizing his hairline, trying to convince himself that it was just his imagination. But deep down, he knew something was off. It started subtly. A few extra strands on his pillow in the morning, a slightly wider part in his hair. These small signs were easy to dismiss at first. Maybe it's just stress, he thought. Or maybe it's the change in weather. But as the days turned into weeks, the evidence became harder to ignore. But it wasn't long before the change was noticeable, and Mark, like many young men, started to panic. The more he looked, the more he saw. His once thick and luscious hair was becoming sparse, and the reality of hair loss began to sink in. The distress was palpable, and it affected his confidence and self-esteem. He wasn't ready to lose his hair, not yet, not like this. The thought of going bald at such a young age was terrifying. He had always associated hair loss with aging, something that happened to older men, not someone in their prime. The anxiety grew with each passing day, and he felt a sense of urgency to find a solution. Desperate for a solution, Mark turned to the internet. He spent countless hours researching, reading articles, and watching videos about hair loss treatments. The more he read, the more overwhelmed he felt. There were so many options, from shampoos and oils to laser treatments and surgeries. But one name kept popping up: Finasteride. He stumbled upon Hims.com, a popular telehealth company promising easy access to hair loss treatments. The website was sleek and user-friendly, with testimonials from men who had successfully regrown their hair. It seemed like the perfect solution. No doctor's appointments, no awkward conversations, just a few clicks and the medication would be delivered to his door. A few clicks later, and Mark had a prescription for Finasteride, a drug marketed as a miracle cure for hair loss. The process was quick and convenient. He filled out a brief questionnaire, uploaded a few photos of his hair, and within days, his prescription was approved. It felt almost too good to be true. It seemed simple enough, a small pill every day to keep the hair on his head. What could go wrong? The instructions were clear, and the promise of regaining his hair was enticing. He eagerly awaited the arrival of his first bottle, filled with hope and anticipation. Mark started taking the medication as directed, hopeful that he had found the answer to his hair loss woes. Each morning, he would take the pill with a glass of water, imagining his hair growing back thicker and stronger. The initial days were filled with optimism, and he felt a renewed sense of confidence. Little did he know, his journey to reclaim his hairline was about to take a dark turn, leading him down a path of unexpected and unwelcome side effects. It started with mild symptoms, like headaches and dizziness. He brushed them off, thinking they were just temporary. But as time went on, the side effects became more severe. His experience, sadly, is not unique. Many young men, driven by the fear of losing their hair, turn to medications like Finasteride without fully understanding the potential risks. The pressure to maintain a full head of hair can be overwhelming, leading them to make hasty decisions. It highlights a growing trend among young men, the pursuit of a full head of hair at any cost. The societal pressure to look a certain way, combined with the availability of quick-fix solutions, creates a dangerous combination. Mark's story serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us that sometimes the cost of vanity can be far greater than we anticipate. As he navigates the challenges of his hair loss journey, he learns valuable lessons about self-acceptance and the importance of making informed decisions. Hims.com, with its sleek website and promises of discreet solutions for men's wellness, is at the forefront of a telehealth boom. Need Viagra? Boom. Hair loss treatment? Blammo. They've got you covered. The convenience of getting these treatments delivered right to your doorstep is undeniably appealing. But this ease of access, while seemingly convenient, comes with its own set of risks, especially when it comes to prescription medications like Finasteride. Finasteride, for instance, is a medication used to treat hair loss, but it can have serious side effects if not properly monitored. The problem with platforms like Hims isn't necessarily the medications themselves, but the potential for inadequate medical consultation. When you're dealing with powerful medications, a thorough understanding of the patient's medical history is crucial. Sure, they have doctors on staff, but are these doctors really taking the time to understand their patient's individual needs and medical histories? Or are they just following a checklist and moving on to the next patient? Or are they just handing out prescriptions like candy on Halloween? The speed and efficiency of these services can sometimes come at the cost of thoroughness and personalized care. The allure of a quick fix, especially for something as emotionally charged as hair loss, can be powerful. Hair loss can significantly impact a person's self-esteem and mental health, making the promise of a simple solution very tempting. But it's crucial to remember that medications have side effects, and these side effects can vary widely from person to person. For example, Finasteride can cause sexual dysfunction, depression, and other serious issues in some individuals. What works for one person might be disastrous for another. This variability underscores the importance of personalized medical advice and monitoring. And when it comes to your health, a quick online consultation is no substitute for a thorough examination by a qualified medical professional. In-person consultations allow doctors to perform physical exams, ask detailed questions, and get a more comprehensive understanding of the patient's health. This level of care is hard to replicate through a screen. While telehealth can be a valuable tool for certain situations, it should complement, not replace, traditional healthcare methods. Telehealth has its place, especially for follow-up appointments, mental health services, and minor ailments. It offers convenience and accessibility, particularly for those in remote areas or with mobility issues. For many, it can be a lifeline, providing access to healthcare that might otherwise be out of reach. However, it's essential to strike a balance and ensure that the quality of care is not compromised. Comprehensive healthcare involves more than just prescribing medications. It requires a holistic approach, considering the patient's overall well-being, lifestyle, and long-term health goals. A collaborative approach where telehealth and traditional healthcare work hand in hand can provide the best outcomes for patients. By leveraging the strengths of both, we can ensure that patients receive the care they need when they need it, without sacrificing quality. Ultimately, the rise of telehealth represents a significant shift in how we access and deliver healthcare. It's a tool that, when used appropriately, can enhance the patient experience and improve health outcomes. As technology continues to evolve, so too will the ways in which we integrate telehealth into our healthcare systems. The key will be to ensure that this evolution prioritizes patient safety, quality of care, and the human touch that is so vital in medicine. By doing so, we can harness the full potential of telehealth to create a more accessible, efficient, and compassionate healthcare system for all. Initially, Mark felt like Finasteride was a miracle drug. He had been struggling with hair loss for years, and it had taken a toll on his self-esteem. When he first heard about Finasteride, he was skeptical, but hopeful. After all, the promise of regaining his youthful appearance was too tempting to ignore. His hair loss slowed, and he even thought he saw some regrowth. Every morning, he would eagerly check the mirror, looking for signs of new hair. The small changes he noticed filled him with a sense of optimism he hadn't felt in a long time. But then, things took a turn. It started with subtle changes that were easy to dismiss. He felt a bit more tired than usual, and his mood seemed off. He chalked it up to stress and continued taking the medication, convinced that the benefits outweighed any minor inconveniences. He started experiencing a decline in his libido, a side effect he hadn't been warned about. This was more than just a minor inconvenience. It was a significant change that affected his relationship with his partner. He felt embarrassed and unsure of how to address the issue. His once active sex drive dwindled, leaving him feeling frustrated and confused. Nights that were once filled with intimacy and connection became awkward and strained. He found himself making excuses to avoid physical closeness, which only added to his growing sense of isolation. And it wasn't just his sex life that took a hit. Mark began to notice other changes in his body. He felt a constant sense of discomfort, as if something was not quite right. His energy levels plummeted, making it difficult to get through the day. Mark also began experiencing erectile dysfunction, making it difficult, if not impossible, to perform sexually. This was a devastating blow to his confidence. He felt like less of a man, and the shame he felt was overwhelming. He started to avoid any situation that might lead to intimacy, further isolating himself. The confidence he had initially gained from seemingly halting his hair loss was quickly overshadowed by these new and distressing side effects. The mirror, once a source of hope, became a reminder of his ongoing struggle. He found himself questioning whether the trade-off was worth it. The physical side effects were bad enough, but the psychological toll was even worse. Mark felt like he was losing control of his life. He became increasingly anxious and depressed, unable to find joy in the things he once loved. The weight of his condition was a constant burden. Mark started to withdraw from social situations, feeling anxious and self-conscious about his condition. He avoided gatherings with friends and family, fearing that they would notice something was wrong. His world became smaller and smaller as he retreated into himself. The very thing he had hoped to avoid, feeling undesirable and insecure, had become his reality, all thanks to a medication that promised to boost his confidence. Mark was left to grapple with the unintended consequences of his decision, wondering if he would ever feel like himself again. The journey that began with hope had led him to a place of uncertainty and despair, leaving him to question whether the price of vanity was too high to pay.